Are you feeling comfortable with optics class?
Yes, sir.
So if I take a test, can I take a test? Whatever we have
Yes, sir.
discussed. Okay. So I'll ask Sadish sir, he will take a class, test. Okay. Be prepared. Yesterday we have started discussion on superposition of two plane polarized light. And at the end, what we have discussed that you have incident a plane polarized light on double diffraction crystal. So it will split into two components. One will be E ray, that is parallel to optic axis. Another component will be what? O ray, that will be perpendicular to optic axis. So actually this two ray actually is the incident ray. Okay, E ray and O ray. These are basically incident ray. Now when they will travel throughout this double refraction crystal, there will be some phase difference. Although incident E ray and O ray, they do not have any phase difference because we observed sin omega t, sin omega t. So omega, they do not have any phase difference for incident profile. But when they will travel throughout this crystal, double refraction crystal, due to their different refractive index, due to their different refractive index, there will be some optical path difference, because we know optical path is nothing but mu into t, right? So since mu is different for both rays, there will be some optical path difference. And if there is some optical path difference, definitely there will be some phase difference, because we know phase difference is nothing but 2 pi by lambda into optical path difference. So what will happen? The emerging ray, they will have some finite phase difference. Now if they superimpose, there can be various possibility of state of polarization. That depends upon what factor? Phase difference between emerging rays as well as theta. Theta is what? Basically angle of incident ray. Okay. So we end up with this equation. If you remember that electric field of E ray was how much? It was Ex equals to E naught x. E naught x is actually amplitude, and this is same as amplitude of incident ray. And that was how much? That was basically sine of omega t plus delta. Okay. And electric field of O ray, that is nothing but EY, that will be how much? E naught Y into sine of omega t. Okay. Now we can clearly see there is some phase difference between E ray and O ray. And this is the profile of what? This is the profile of emerging ray. Now this Ex can further be written as what? That can retain, or I can take that E naught x in the denominator of left hand side, right? So if I write like this, on the right hand side, how much I'll get? I'll get sine of omega t plus cosine delta. Just I am using what formula? Sine a plus b. So sine a plus b is nothing but sine a cosine b plus cosine a sine b. So this is sine a cosine b. Then you have cosine of omega t plus sine of into sine of delta. And this value I know from this equation. So it will be how much? Sine of omega t, that is nothing but ui by e naught y. So just I'll substitute this value. So it will be ui by e naught y into cosine of delta plus. Now this cosine omega t can be written as what? I can write like 1 minus sine square omega t. And sine square omega t, again I'll substitute this value. So sine omega t is how much? Ey by e naught y. So sine square omega t will be how much? So I can write like 1 minus ey by e naught y. Okay, square. Okay, and further I have this term, that is sine of delta. That is basically outside of square root. Okay, is this part clear to all? Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this equation I can rearrange. I can rearrange like Ex by E naught x. Okay. And you see this term I'll bring on the left hand side. So what will be happen? So it will be like Ei by E naught I into cosine of delta. That should be equals to how much? That should be equals to 1 minus EI by E naught I square. Can you please mute your mic? Can you please mute your mic?
Out of it, so I can flip the mattress, make some money off of it. Sounded more pimpy than I intended.
Can you please mute your mic?
Pam doesn't want to live upstairs anymore.
Who
Maybe
is
she wants
this?
to go with him to Missouri. Or maybe you don't want Pam to live upstairs and you want her to go home to Missouri.
Tita,
Help it over here is effectively the same range.
Tita, can you please mute your mic? Okay. So this equation is like this. Then you have this term, sine of delta. Okay. So this equation I can further write like, if I square both sides, then how much I'll get? I'll basically get Ex by E naught x whole square. So a square minus 2ab. So 2 into a is how much? That is Ex by E naught x. Okay. B is how much? B is basically Ey by E naught y into cosine of delta. Then you have b square. B square is how much? B square is nothing but Ey by E naught y into cosine of delta whole square. And that should be equals to how much? That should be equals to 1 minus Ey by E naught y. Okay. Whole square into sin square delta. एन वाला पार्ट दिख रहा है आप लोगों को? Can you able to see? Can you able to see this rightmost part?
yes, sir.
Okay, now you see this term. You have second term on the right hand side. That is how much? That is basically Ey by E naught y square into sin square delta. If I bring this term on the left hand side, then I can take this thing common. That is Ey by E naught y whole square. If I take this common from the left hand side, how much I'll get? Cos square delta. And from the right hand side, how much I'll get? I'll get sin square delta. So basically, if you take Ey by E naught y square common, then inside bracket you will have cos square delta plus sin square delta. That is nothing but 1. That is nothing but 1. So further, if I simplify this equation, basically how much I'll get? Ex by E naught x whole square. Okay, then you have second term, that is 2 into Ex by E naught x into Ey by E naught y cosine delta. Okay, and if you rearrange, how much you will get basically? Can you please tell me? अगर इस टर्म के साथ सेकंड राइट हैंड साइड का जो सेकंड टर्म ऐड करोगे कितना मिलेगा बताओ? हाउ मच विल गेट? How much you will get? If you take, you have that last term on the left hand side, that is how much? Ey by E naught y cosine delta ka whole square. Now already I told you, if you bring this term, second term of right hand side, then how much you will get if you merge with this term?
1 backside noise sir.
Huh?
Backside noise create sir हो रहा है.
Noise is creating. Check. Is it okay now?
No sir.
Is this okay or not?
Not okay sir.
No, sir.
Now?
Again noise created.
Now can you please tell me? Is this noise creating? Noise create हो रहा है फिर से?
Created.
Now?
Create हो रहा है.
जब ठीक हो जाएगा बता देना. Can you check now? Still noise is creating. अभी भी हो रहा है?
नहीं हो रहा है अब ठीक है.
अब ठीक है. Okay, so can you please tell me what is that last term? If I merge this last term with second term of right hand side, how much you will get? So from left hand side you will get that contribution ey by e naught y ka whole square, and you have cosine square delta. If you bring this term, second term of right hand side, second term is actually what? Second term is ey by e naught y ka whole square into sine square delta. So you see exactly this term is common with this. So if you bring this term on the left hand side, you will have ey by e naught I square into cos square delta plus sine square delta. So that is nothing but what? So exactly how much you will get? You will basically get ey by e naught y ka whole square. And that should be equals to how much? That should be equals to 1 into sine square delta. That is nothing but sine square delta. That is nothing but sine square delta. So this is actually important equation. So this equation will tell you if that emerging ray will superimpose, if the emerging rays are superimposing, then what kind of state of polarization they can build. Is this clear?
Yes.
Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now that state of polarization, as I mentioned, that depends upon what basically? That depends upon what basically? That depends upon delta, right? So there will be various cases. Now let us discuss one by one. So first I'll discuss case 1. Now you see, if delta is 0, 2 pi, 4 pi, okay, and so on, then what will be the form of this equation? Now if I substitute delta equals to 0, let us substitute delta equals to 0. So this will be how much? This will be cosine 0 is how much? That will be on. That will be on. It means you will see, you will get like a minus b ka whole square formula. If you assume this is as a and ey by e naught y as b, if you assume ex by e naught x as a and ui by e naught y as b, then exactly how much you will get? A square minus 2ab into, so sorry, a square minus 2i is a into b plus b ka whole square, and right hand side will be how much? It will be 0 because sine 0 is 0, sine 2 pi is 0, and so on. So for this case, this equation will become like ex by e naught x minus ey by e naught y का whole square, that should be equals to how much? कितना हो जाएगा बताओ आप लोग?
0.
Okay, it will be 0. So okay, so can I write like, if I remove this square part, again it will be 0 because square root of 0 is how much? 0. Is this clear what I'm saying? अगर square is 0, then simply ex by e naught x minus ey by e naught y, that should be equals to 0. So can I write this equation like, if I arrange, can I write like ex equals to e naught x into ey by e naught y? I can write like, right? Just second wala term ko right hand side mein leke jao, okay? And if you multiply with both side by e naught x, exactly you will get ex equals to e naught x into ey by e naught y. Okay. So this actually representing what? The state of polarization of emerging ray. So अगर दो रे के बीच में फेज डिफरेंस कितना है? अगर 0, 2 पाई 4 पाई, तो किस तरह की पोलराइजेशन मिलेगा आपको emerging ray का? If that emerging rays are superimposing and they have phase difference like 0, 2 pi, 4 pi, then you will get linearly polarized light. But what is interesting thing here? What is interesting thing? Can you please tell me, anyone? Interesting thing ये है, अच्छा एक तरफ आपका सपोज मान लो इंसिडेंट रे है, एक आपका इंसिडेंट रे है और एक आपका emerging रे है, ठीक है? You have emerging ray. अच्छा इंसिडेंट रे के लिए इक्वेशन क्या है? What is the relation between ex and e naught, sorry, ey? क्या रिलेशन है ex और ey के बीच में इंसिडेंट रे के लिए? बताओ, जस्ट चेक करो इंसिडेंट रे का प्रोफाइल क्या था. इट वाज लाइक e naught x sin omega t for incident ray, and ui was how much? That was E naught y into sin omega t. If you remember, in previous discussion we have discussed ex कितना था incident ray के लिए? That was E naught
E naught
x sin
sin
of
omega t delta.
omega t. ui कितना था? E naught y
E naught
sin
y
of.
sin omega t. Omega t.
So if you see ex will be looking like how much? That I can write if you divide this equation. If you divide equation 1 by 2, you will basically get ex equals to ey into E naught x by E naught y. Okay. So this is the relation of ex with ey for incident ray. And it is exactly same as the relation between ex and ey for emerging ray. ठीक है. तो सपोज मान लो आपका जो suppose this is your double refraction crystal. Suppose this is your double refraction crystal, and this along x-axis, this is your optic axis. Along y-axis, this is your axis perpendicular to optic axis. अब आपने क्या इंसिडेंट किए थे? प्लेन पोलराइज्ड लाइट दैट इज मेकिंग एंगल थीटा. ठीक है. So this is the profile of your incident ray. Okay. So this value is actually how much? This is your E naught x. This value is actually how much? This is your E naught y. Because this is the maximum amplitude along x-axis. That कितना possible है maximum amplitude? That can be E naught x. This is the maximum amplitude along x-axis. This is the maximum amplitude along y-axis. From here I can get. तो ये आपका इंसिडेंट रे का प्रोफाइल है. ठीक है. आउट इमर्जिंग रे का प्रोफाइल किस तरह की हो जाएगा? इट विल बी एग्जैक्टली सेम एज इंसिडेंट रे. It will be exactly same as incident ray. When the phase difference between two rays is of the order of 0 or 2 pi or 4 pi. ठीक है. तो ये आपका क्या है? Emerging ray का प्रोफाइल that will be same as state of polarization of incident ray. In that scenario, is this clear? Is this part clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, second case. So this is all about your first case. Can I erase this part?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is your E naught x about x-axis, and this is actually about y-axis. So this is basically your E ray. This is about your O ray, and E ray, O ray both are actually what? क्या है E ray, O ray? Both are actually what? Both are actually plane polarized. ठीक है, ये भी important है ना? Okay, so this is all about your case 1. Now if I discuss case 2, if I take case 2, suppose that phase difference between two rays, two emerging rays, this is like pi, 3 pi, 5 pi and so on. So इस केस में क्या हो जाएगा बताओ? जो आपका ओरिजिनल इक्वेशन था, क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन, वो किस तरह की हो जाएगा? कॉस डेल्टा का वैल्यू कितना हो जाएगा यहाँ पे? बताओ, कॉस डेल्टा का वैल्यू कितना हो जाएगा? That will be, if I take delta equals to pi, cos pi is how much basically? Cos pi is -1. So earlier case, in case 1, what you have observed, that equation was reduces to what? A minus b का whole square. A minus b का whole square हो गया था. क्यों? क्योंकि cos delta कितना था वहां पे? +1 थे. But for this case, cos delta is actually how much? That is -1. So in earlier case, we have noticed that is a minus b ka whole square. But for this case, you will get a plus b ka whole square. And again on the right hand side, how much you will get? Right hand side में कितना हो जाएगा? 0 हो जाएगा, because sin 0 is how much? 0. So basically in that case, your original equation will reduce to ex by E naught x plus ey by E naught y. Okay. Square equals to 0. And again I can write, if the square is 0, then simple power on again will be 0. ठीक है. तो इस तरह के केस में emerging ray का प्रोफाइल किस तरह की होगा? So I can write ex equals to how much? I can write ex equals to nothing but E naught x into ey divided by E not Y. ठीक है. Can I write like this? Can I write like this? Okay. Now, can you please tell me? This is your suppose this is incident case, and this side you have emerging ray. On side emerging. So you have incident ray. So incident ray का profile किस तरह की है? Relation किस तरह की है? So for incident ray, if you remember, Ex was how much? That was simply E naught X divided by E naught Y into EY. Now, if you consider the profile of incident ray is like this. Suppose this is the profile of incident ray. Now, can you please tell me what will be the state of polarization? How it will look like? So again you see the polarization. What does this equation actually representing? क्या represent कर रहा है? State of polarization क्या होगा? Emerging ray का. So there is a linear relation between Ex and EY. So obviously you will get plane polarized light or linearly polarized light. But what is the difference from case 1? So there is a minus sign. So earlier, if you see, if the incident ray is looking like this, then profile of emerging ray was like exactly same as incident ray. But इस case में क्या हो जाएगा? Emerging ray will look like this. So अगर suppose मान लो ये आपका optic axis है, अगर this ray is making angle theta, ठीक है, तो emerging ray, this ray will make angle minus theta. इसके नीचे आओगे तो फिर क्या आएगा? बेसिकली माइनस आएगा ना. सो इट विल मेक माइनस थीटा बिकॉज यू हैव माइनस साइन हियर, because you have minus sign. So if the incident ray is making angle theta with respect to optic axis, then emerging ray will make angle minus theta with optic axis. So this is the difference between case 1 and case 2. Is this part clear? Is this part clear to all?
Sir.
Do you have any doubt?
सर E0X और E0Y के बीच जो एंगल है वो सेम ही होगा ना?
E0X. अच्छा. Okay, now you see what you have to take. You have to take component, right? So suppose this angle is how much? This angle is theta. So this side how much you will get basically? E cos theta, right? You are asking about that angle E0X and E0Y.
Yes, sir.
What is E0X actually? What is E0X actually? Can you please?
Incident E-ray.
E0X is, if you remember, E0X was how much? That is A into cosine theta. A into cosine theta. Okay. Okay. Now, how much will be that E0Y? So E0X again will be how much? It will be A cosine theta. अब E0Y कितना होगा बताओ इस केस में इमर्जिंग रे के लिए? E0Y कितना होगा? हाँ? So this angle will be how much now? कितना हो जाएगा बताओ?
5 plus theta.
90 plus theta.
90 plus theta, yes. So it will be A into 9 sine 90 plus theta, right? So this will be the relation.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So this is your all about your case case 2. Is this part clear to all what I am saying? क्या इतना clear है आप लोगों को? If you have doubt, please tell me. Yeah. Okay. So, day before, yeah, yesterday in previous class, someone asked about that energy. That question, I gave that correct answer, but later I thought that question was really deep. So if you are someone asked if you placed a paper, although that answer was absolutely correct. But those who asked this question is really smart question. So you have a seat, and someone said when that photon will travel, it will lose its energy. Then I told you, I discussed, I gave that answer that was correct, that photon will not lose in energy, because when photon is nothing but electromagnetic wave, and when electromagnetic wave or especially light, when light travels through a medium, which quantity remains unchanged? That is frequency. And we know the energy of electromagnetic wave is quantized, that is nothing but h nu. Now suppose you have a n number of photons, then total energy will be how much? That is n h nu. Okay, but there will be some absorption of photon in this material. So total number of photons after crossing this paper will be less. So definitely energy will be less. So if you consider total beam, that energy will be less. But this is true for what? For visible light. This is true because we are performing this experiment by using what? By using visible light. It can be red, blue, whatever it is. Okay, so that's why this is true. But if you go to higher energy, suppose you are taking X-ray photon. Suppose you are taking X-ray photon. That time, this statement is not true. I think those that student who asked this question, he considered like Compton effect like this. I think so, if I'm correct. But in Compton effect, we see, suppose you have a photon is shining on electron, then what will happen? This photon will lose some energy. Okay, this photon will lose some energy and it will scatter like this. But this photon is actually what? This not belongs to your visible light. Compton effect actually happens at what energy? It's at higher energy. Like for if this photon is like X-ray, then when this X-ray will travel through a material, then it will lose its energy. Then whatever photons are coming, it will have less energy. But for visible light, this is not true. For visible light, it cannot happen. Okay, so number of photon in visible case, what will happen? The number of photon can be less. Number of photon can be less. Okay, but for each photon, total energy will be as it is. That is h nu. Okay, and why number of photons will be less? Let me discuss some. Although this is not belongs to your course. Why number of photon will be less? So you know every material will have some atoms, and if you are shining photon, and electron is actually orbiting right in each orbit. So if you are shining this photon, the visible light actually belongs to, or visible light having photons, the energy of visible photon actually belongs to energy separation between two orbits. तो कुछ photons क्या होगा, कुछ photons क्या होगा, ये सॉरी कुछ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स क्या करेगा, ये जो इनकमिंग फोटोन है इसको एब्जॉर्ब करके एक्साइट हो जाएगा. So there will be kind of excitation of atoms. Okay, so that's why there will be few loss of photons. Okay, is this part clear what I am saying? क्या होगा अगर visible light use करोगे तो each photons, outcoming photons will not lose its energy, but some of the photons will be lost. Why? Some of the photons will spend its energy to excite that electron from ground state to excited state. ठीक है? Is this part clear what I am saying?
Yes, sir.
No.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now there is a case 3. Now you have a case 3. Case 3 क्या है बताओ कौन सा हो सकता है? What can be that case 3? और क्या हो सकता है डेल्टा की वैल्यू बताओ?
Pi/2.
Exactly, that can be pi by 2. Very good. So if delta is pi by 2, p pi by 2, okay, 5 pi by 2 and so on. But theta not equals to 0 degree, not equals to 45 degree, not equals to 90 degree. Okay, not equals to 180 degree, not equals to 270 degree. ठीक है, ठीक है. अगर डेल्टा की वैल्यू ए रखोगे, ठीक है, तो आपका इक्वेशन क्या हो जाएगा बताओ, एनीवन? किस तरह के फॉर्म होगा रिजल्टेंट इक्वेशन? कैन यू प्लीज टेल मी, एनीवन in that class? So in that scenario your cosine term will be 0, right? Because cosine pi by 2 is 0, but sine term will be how much? It will be 1. So if you remember that your original equation, if you substitute cosine term is 0 and sine term is 1, then how much you will get? You will basically get ex square by e naught x square plus ey square by e naught y square. That will be how much? That will be 1. So this is the equation of what? This is the equation of what?
Ellipse.
Okay, so emerging ray will be what kind of polarization? जो emerging ray होगा, it will be elliptically polarized light. ठीक है. अगर जो दो आपका रेज है, उनके बीच में अगर फेज डिफरेंस पाई बाई 2 और 3 पाई बाई 2 और 5 पाई बाई 2 हो, and theta not equals to 0, 45, 90, 180 or 270, in that case your original equation will be looking like this, and we know this is the equation of ellipse. So that emerging ray, the state of polarization of emerging ray will be what? It will be elliptically polarized light. Now why that theta? What will happen if we take theta equals to 45? I'll discuss every theta. Now can you please tell me what will happen if I take theta equals to 45? So case number 4 I'll discuss. Now in case number 4, what is happening? I'm taking same delta. Taking same delta means delta can be pi by 2, 3 pi by 2, 5 pi by 2, and so on. But now theta is 45 degree. Now can you please tell me what will happen in this case? So if you remember, E naught x actually what? E naught x कितना है आपके पास? If you remember, E naught x, E naught x is nothing but cosine of, and E naught y is actually how much? It is a sine of theta. Okay, we have discussed this part, right? During our discussion, do you remember everyone that E naught x is nothing but actually a cosine theta, and E naught y is a sine theta. Is this part clear? Do you remember everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now if
Sir.
you substitute theta equals to 45 degree, what will happen? E naught x will be a by root 2. Again, E naught y will be how much? A by root 2. So in that case, although you will get this kind of equation, but E naught x and E naught y both are same. So I can write, if both are same, then equation will be looking like what? It will be ex square plus ey square. That will be how much? E naught x square. Because in this case, what will happen? E naught x is nothing but E naught y. Right? So this is actually the equation of circle, right? So emerging ray will be what? It will be circularly polarized light. So if you are making that, if that incident ray is at angle of 45 degree with respect to optic axis, and that phase difference between two rays, emerging rays, that is like pi by 2 or 3 pi by 2 or 5 pi by 2, in that scenario what will happen? That emerging ray will be circularly polarized light. Is this part clear to all? Is this part
Yes, sir.
clear to all? Okay.
Sir.
Okay.
सर
I think yes.
सर हम ये डेल्टा रिप्रेजेंट कैसे करते हैं, मतलब डेल्टा इक्वल टू अगर पाई है तो?
If you remember delta, I told you in the initial discussion also. So delta is actually what? So first, that when the two rays means what? E ray and O ray. If they are traveling that crystal, suppose the thickness of this double refraction crystal is T, Now emerging ray means what? That incident ray is traveling how much distance? T distance. If they are traveling T distance, then optical path for E ray will be how much? That will be its refractive index into thickness. And optical path for O ray will be how much? That will be its refractive index into thickness. So they will have some part difference. That will be how much? That will be, I can write mu E T into mu naught T. So this is the part difference. Now delta will be how much? So phase difference is nothing but 2 pi by lambda into part difference, that we know. So delta is actually this. Delta कितना है आपके पास? 2 pi by lambda into mu E T minus mu naught T. T is the thickness of this crystal, and mu E and mu naught we know, right? Not mu naught actually, this is mu O. Okay. Is this part
Yes, sir.
clear what I am saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what will be that case 5? We have discussed up to case 4, right? What will be that case 5? Anyone? So I am taking that theta, different theta. Okay. So theta, if theta is how much? 45 degree, and delta is pi by 2, 3 pi by 2, then you are getting circularly polarized, right? Now, suppose case 5. Case 5. Now, suppose theta is 0 or theta is 0 or 180 degree. No matter how much phase difference is this, डेल्टा आपको कितना ही दिया गया है, अगर थीटा इस वैल्यू हो तो फिर आपका इमर्जिंग रे किस तरह की दिखेगा बताओ? एनीवन? आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग सम आंसर्स फ्रॉम हियर. Anyone, can you please tell me what will happen if theta is 0 or 180 degree? What will be the profile of emerging ray? Whatever delta is given, no matter, क्या होगा बताओ? देखो, theta is actually what? If you remember, suppose this is your double refracting crystal. Theta, what I have defined? The angle between the oscillation of electric field of incident ray with respect to what? Optic axis. Now, if theta is 0, then what will be the form of your incident ray? It will be parallel to optic axis. This is clear what I am saying? थीटा कब 0 है? जब आपका इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड का जो एम्पलीट्यूड है, एम्पलीट्यूड ऑफ ऑसिलेशन, दैट इज पैरेलल टू ऑप्टिक एक्सिस, because we are measuring that theta with respect to what? With respect to optic axis. So theta is 0 means this is parallel. In that case, can we get any component of your O ray?
No, sir.
Can we get any component? I mean, if that incident ray is making a parallel, तो थीटा 0 है, मतलब दोनों पैरेलल है. अगर थीटा sorry 180 है, then what will happen? Then that electric field actually anti-parallel to your optic axis, right? So suppose this side you have a electric field oscillation and optic axis is this side. So this case belongs to theta equals to 180 degree. So in both cases, that incident ray will not split into two components. You have only one component, because we know that amplitude of O ray कितना लिखते हैं हम? UI. It was how much actually? A sin of theta लिखते हैं नहीं? अब theta कितना है यहाँ पे?
0.
E naught y कितना लिखते हैं हम? हाँ 0 है, exactly. So do you remember this thing? That amplitude of O ray is nothing but A sin theta. We have discussed in previous class, right?
Yes, sir.
So for this case, if theta is 0 or 180, what will happen? You do not have O ray component, because amplitude you can see that is 0. So you have only E wave. So this E ray actually traveling throughout this crystal. So what will be the emerging ray, state of polarization of emerging ray? किस तरह की दिखेगा इस केस में बताओ? It will be only E ray, है ना? आपका एक ही रे ट्रेवल हो रहा है, तो कोई सुपरपोजिशन का कोई खेल नहीं है आपका, नहीं. You do not have O ray, only E ray is there, and it is actually traveling throughout this crystal. So that emerging ray will be what? E ray. So there will not be any superposition here, क्योंकि आपका E ray है ही नहीं यहाँ पे, है ना? And E ray is what actually? It is actually plane polarized in nature. It is plane polarized in nature. Okay. So emerging ray will be what? It will be plane polarized. Now, can you please tell me, in case 6, suppose theta is now either 90 degree or 270 degree. Can you please tell me what will be the state of polarization of O ray? Can you please tell me?
सर सिर्फ E0y होगा.
हाँ, इस केस में देखो आपका theta 90 मतलब क्या है? Suppose this side you have optic axis and electric field actually oscillating which direction? It is oscillating parallel to y axis, right? So in that case, you will not get any E ray. So this ray actually will not split into two components. This incident ray will have only one component, that is actually O ray, right? Because in the we know this amplitude of E ray, that is how much? A cosine of theta. And in that case, theta is how much? Either 90 degree or 270 degree. So if cosine 90 is how much actually? O ray. So you will not get any E ray here for this case. So you will have only on incident ray, that is actually what? That is O ray. And it is actually traveling throughout this crystal. Okay. So there is no superposition here. So emerging ray will be what? It will be O ray. And we know again, O ray is nothing but plane polarized in nature. So emerging ray will be plane polarized light. Is this part clear to what I am saying? Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now case 7. Time कितना हुआ सीखा?
6:45.
Okay. Okay, now case 7. Okay, so case 7, suppose delta is not equals to 0 degree or pi by 2 or pi or 3 pi by 2. Okay, na? But delta is how much? That is given 67 degree, 37 degree, okay, or 33 degree, ठीक है, on 67 degree, ठीक है. इन केस में बेसिकली क्या मिलता है आपको? जो एमर्जिंग रे होता है, that is basically elliptical polarized light. That is basically elliptically polarized light. Okay, क्या इतना क्लियर है आप लोगों को?
सर ये 67 37 ये सब लेने के लिए कोई रीजन है?
हाँ,
सर, हम डेल्टा 67 37 ये पर्टिकुलर वैल्यू लेने के लिए कोई रीजन है?
actually this is experimentally observed. Okay.
ओके सर.
At this particular angle, that emerging ray elliptically in nature. So this is like a experimental observation. Okay. क्या इतना क्लियर है आप लोगों को? प्लीज टेल मी.
Yes, sir.
सबको क्लियर है इतना?
यस सर.
Okay, now that next we'll discuss about that quarter wave plate. So you have now quarter wave plate. So quarter wave plate is basically, it is also double refraction crystal. So quarter wave plate again, it is double refraction crystal. Okay. But its thickness is such that, it will produce that part difference between E ray and O ray. It will produce part difference between E ray and O ray, that is equals to lambda by 4 ray, lambda by 4. मतलब ये भी आपका डबल रिफ्रैक्शन क्रिस्टल है. So its thickness is such that it will produce the part difference between E ray and O ray. That will be how much? Lambda by 4. And we know that part difference is nothing but mu E into T minus mu O into T. That is part difference. So part difference between E ray and O ray, that is how much for quarter wave plate? That will be lambda by 4. Okay. So I can find that thickness of this quarter wave plate also. Thickness will be how much? Thickness T will be how much? That will be lambda by 4 into mu E minus mu O. Will be how much? This will be the thickness. So this is also important equation. So in the exam, lambda is actually what? This is the wavelength of light. So they will provide you that wavelength of light, refractive index for E ray, refractive index for O ray, and they may ask what will be the thickness of quarter wave plate. So thickness T equals to lambda by 4 into mu E minus mu O. Okay. So if the part difference between E ray and O ray is lambda by 4, what will be the phase difference? Delta कितना होगा बताओ? Delta is nothing but what? 2 pi by lambda into part difference, that is how much? Lambda by 4. So lambda will be cancelled and this will be cancelled. So you'll basically get part difference between two rays, E ray and O ray, will be how much? That will be pi by 2. Okay. So we got that part difference between E ray, emerging E ray and O ray for quarter wave plate. That will be how much? That will be pi by 2. Okay. Is this clear what I'm saying? Is this part clear? So
Yes,
if
sir.
we have a quarter wave plate, part difference between two rays, that will be pi by 2. Sorry, phase difference will be pi by 2 and part difference will be how much? That will be lambda by 2. Now suppose you have a quarter wave plate. This is your quarter wave plate. Okay. This is your quarter wave plate. And you are shining प्लेन पोलराइज लाइट. सपोज मान लो आपने प्लेन पोलराइज लाइट को इंसिडेंट किए क्वार्टर वेव प्लेट. So quarter wave plate will basically what it will do basically, it will say that phase difference between E ray and O ray, that will be how much? That will be pi by 2. So plane polarized light सपोज मान लो जो E ray है और O ray है उनके बीच में सपोज मान लो phase difference 0 है, and you are shining this polarized light, plane polarized light to quarter wave plate. Then what will be the state of polarization of output ray? किस तरह का हो जाएगा? So यहाँ पे क्या assume किया कि जो दो प्लेन पोलराइज में दो कंपोनेंट होते हैं, आपका क्या होता है? ई रे होता है, को रे होता है. यहाँ पे दोनों के बीच में फेज डिफरेंस 0 है. If these rays are passing through this quarter wave plate, what will happen? Then part difference between O ray and E ray कितना हो जाएगा? जो emerging ray आएगा.
lambda by 4.
हाँ?
Lambda by 4.
हाँ, part difference lambda by 4, phase difference कितना हो जाएगा?
Pi by 2.
Then if they superimpose, what will look like? How what kind of polarization? है ना? किस तरह की पोलराइजेशन होगा? सपोज मान लो थीटा नॉट इक्वल्स टू 0 डिग्री और 45 डिग्री, है ना, 90 डिग्री सो ऑन. ये नहीं है तो फिर किस तरह के मिलेगा? सो एट द आउटपुट यू हैव टू रेज, ओके, दैट इज ई रे एंड ओ रे. फेज डिफरेंस इज हाउ मच? पाई बाय 2, एंड थीटा इज नॉट लाइक दिस. देन इट विल बी व्हाट? इट विल बी elliptical polarized light. Okay. Now suppose you have a circularly polarized light. That incident ray is actually what? This is circularly polarized. Phase difference between two rays is how much? This is pi by 2. And you are shining this polarized light in quarter wave plate. So it will set again phase difference, that will be how much? It will be pi by 2. So what will be the state of polarization of output ray? किस तरह की दिखेगा? If you have circularly polarized light that is incident on this plate, किस तरह की दिखेगा बताओ? तो यहाँ पे जो ई रे है और ये ओ रे है, इनके बीच में फेज डिफरेंस कितना आ जाएगा? यू ऑलरेडी हैव हाउ मच फॉर सर्कुलरली पोलराइज्ड लाइट, फेज डिफरेंस हाउ मच? इंसिडेंट रे का जो ई रे है और ओ रे है, इनके बीच में फेज डिफरेंस कितना होगा? है एक्चुअली पाई/2 है। एंड यू इफ यू इंसिडेंट दिस ऑन क्वार्टर वेव प्लेट, जो आउटपुट रे होगा कितना फेज डिफरेंस आएगा बताओ?
पाई।
That can be either can be 0 or pi. So it can be add with this or it can be subtract with this. ठीक है, तो ओ रे एंड ई रे के बीच में अगर फेज डिफरेंस इस तरह की है तो किस तरह की पोलराइज दिखेगा आपको? इट विल बी प्लेन पोलराइज लाइट. It will be plain polarized light. So if you incident circularly polarized light on quarter wave plate, then that emerging ray will be plane polarized in nature. ठीक है ना? Emerging ray will be plane polarized in nature. क्या इतना क्लियर है आप लोगों को? बताओ. Is this part clear to all?
यस सर।
ये क्लियर है आप लोगों को कि क्यों प्लेन पोलराइज होगा? How it is plane polarized light? Is this clear? Now suppose ये आपका क्या है? क्वार्टर वेव प्लेट है. अब आपके पास सपोज मान लो हाफ वेव प्लेट है. So half wave plate basically what? You have a half wave plate. So half wave plate again it is a double refraction crystal, but it will produce that part difference between E ray and O ray that will be λ/2. So when that E ray and O ray travel through double refraction crystal and its thickness is such that it will produce part difference between emerging E ray and O ray that is like λ/2. In that case, this crystal is known as half wave plate. So in half wave plate, that part difference between E ray and O ray, that is mu E into T minus mu O into T. It will be how much? That will be λ/2. So from here I can calculate that thickness of this plate also. That will be λ/2 into mu E minus mu O. Okay. So again, this is also important equation. Okay. So if part difference is λ/2, then what will be the phase difference between two rays? कितना हो जाएगा फेज डिफरेंस बताओ? डेल्टा कितना हो जाएगा एनियन? 2 pi by lambda into λ/2. So you'll basically get pi. Okay, you'll basically get pi. Okay. Now suppose this is your half wave plate. This is your half wave plate. And if you have incident, that incident ray is actually plane polarized. That plane polarized light having phase difference delta equals to 0 is incident on half wave plate. Then half wave plate will introduce phase difference. That will be how much? That will be pi. So what will be the state of polarization of light? Again, can you please tell me? So again, theta is
Plane
not
polarized.
again theta is not equals to how much? It will not equals to 0. Okay, irrespective of theta, can you please tell me? Theta को छोड़ो.
Plane polarized sir.
It will be plane polarized light. ठीक है ना? It will be plane polarized light. But here that phase difference between two rays will be how much? कितना हो जाएगा? जो आउटपुट रेज होगा फेज डिफरेंस कितना आ जाएगा यहाँ पे? No, it will be pi. So although you have a plane polarized light, the phase difference between E ray and O ray that is 0. But if this ray is incident on half wave plate, then phase difference between two rays will be how much? Pi. So suppose मान लो अगर आपका इंसिडेंट रे जो है, जो इंसिडेंट रे इंसिडेंट हो रहा है हाफ वेव प्लेट में, सपोज मान लो उसका जो इलेक्ट्रिक फील्ड है इस तरह की है ना? इंसिडेंट केस है. तो आफ्टर पासिंग दिस हाफ वेव प्लेट, इनका प्रोफाइल किस तरह की बनेगा? इट विल बी लाइक दिस. 180 का चेंज आ जाएगा यहाँ पे. ठीक है, ये आपका इंसिडेंट रे का है. आफ्टर पासिंग दिस हाफ वेव प्लेट, दैट रे विल बी लुकिंग लाइक दिस. ठीक है. अब दो केस और है इसमें. सपोज मान लो आपका अगेन यू हैव ए हाफ वेव प्लेट. You have a half wave plate, okay? And if you incident that ray that is left circularly polarized, what will get at the output? क्या मिलेगा बताओ? It will be right circularly polarized light. Okay, if you incident right circularly polarized light on half wave plate, you will get left circularly polarized light. Okay. You have half wave plate. If you incident left elliptically polarized light, you will get right elliptically polarized light. If you incident right elliptically polarized light on half wave plate, you will basically get left elliptically polarized light. So it will basically introduce phase difference that will be pi. So this thing also important for your exam. So if you incident left circularly polarized light on half wave plate, you will get right circularly. If you incident right circularly polarized light, you will get left circularly. Okay. And if you incident this is left elliptically polarized light, you will get right elliptically polarized light. If you incident right elliptically polarized light, you will get left elliptically polarized light. So this is the case of half wave plate. Okay. Okay, so this is all about your that state of polarization for superposition of two wave. So if you have question, you can ask me. Otherwise, I'll stop here. Is there any question?
सर ये राइट से लेफ्ट कैसे हो रहा है?
इसीलिए हो रहा है, देखो फेज डिफरेंस कितना इंट्रोड्यूस कर रहा है ये
पाई
पाई, तो पाई में उल्टा नहीं हो जाएगा भाई? अगर इस तरह की है तो ऑपोजिट हो जाएगा एग्जैक्टली। आप चेक करना फेज डिफरेंस कितना इंट्रोड्यूस करेगा, पाई इंट्रोड्यूस करेगा, तो ऑब्वियसली इसका जो ये है फ्लिप हो जाएगा, बिल्कुल ऑपोजिट हो जाएगा। ठीक है,
ओके सर।
डू यू हैव मोर क्वेश्चन? So this thing please revise it, because I think you will have a test. Okay, whatever discussion is there we have done so far, so there should be on test based on this. Okay, please be prepared. Okay, and I am expecting a good result from you people. Okay,
सर वो डायरेक्शन में दिक्कत आ रही है।
कौन सा डायरेक्शन में?
जो प्रीवियस जो सर्कुलरली इलेक्ट्रिकली जो कर रहे थे ना,
हाँ, उसमें दिक्कत आ रहा है आपको?
यस सर।
Okay, okay, so you please call me tomorrow. You call me, huh? I'll discuss on this, because this is also important. Whether it is left circularly, right circularly, this is also important. Tomorrow you call me, okay? Before lunch, okay? You call me.
ओके सर।
I'll tell you. Okay.
ओके
Okay.
सर,
Let's stop there. Okay.
थैंक यू सर।